it's Leandra. I'm going to be doing a review of the season's premiere of the Vampire Diaries of Season 8. Yay! I have been following the Vampire Diaries series for a very long time. The Vampire Diaries is definitely one of my favorite TV shows of all time. I have been waiting all summer for Season 8 to premiere. Now it finally has, so I'm just like absolutely excited. I am quite sad though because, as we all know, this is the final season ever of the Vampire Diaries. Ever. I think that this season is already off to a very good start. We don't really know a lot of the stuff from Season 8 yet. It's only just premiered. All we know is a few little bits and bobs, and I'm really excited to jump right into this review. I am going to be talking about some spoilery things, so if you haven't watched the episode yet, I suggest you go do that now. It is really interesting, and hopefully you can come back and then we can discuss it. The writer of the Vampire Diaries mentioned that every episode from Season 8 is going to have the name of a famous quote. For the first episode, the quote is, "Hello, brother." Now, if you've been following the Vampire Diaries from the very beginning, like I have, you will know that this is the first thing that Damon says to Stefan in the very, very first episode. In fact, I think that it is Ian's first line ever on the show. I don't know about you guys, but this makes me very emotional. I know that the show hasn't been as good and as intriguing as maybe the first couple seasons, but it still is very close to my heart, and I really don't want it to end. The episode starts off with a couple driving in a car. I don't know whether I'm the only one who thinks this, but I think that in every season of the Vampire Diaries, there is at least one scene where there is a car that gets hijacked by vampires, where the people get brutally murdered. To be really honest, I don't really think Damon turning off his humanity is a very original thing. I mean, in every season, at least one vampire turns off their humanity. How original. But I do think that it is interesting that this episode sort of runs parallel to the kind of behavior that Damon presented in the very first season. He's very brutal, he doesn't have any emotions whatsoever. All he cares about is satisfying the monster for whom he's working for now. Now, in the beginning, we don't know what this monster is. All we see is this metal grate over this body of water, which is just full of blood, right? And Damon basically has to hook the people that he has captured onto this metal hook thing and lower them down, and then the only thing that comes up is like this tiny little fleshy thing. That really grossed me out. I was like, ew, I don't want to see that. I was just absolutely disgusted by it. I do think that it sort of reinforced the ideas to the viewers that this enemy is dangerous. So in the beginning, I was like, what is this monster thing? Who is down there? Is it like some sort of, I don't know, like Loch Ness monster thing with like all these tentacles and sharp teeth or whatever? I was very intrigued as to what was down there and why Damon and Enzo were helping it. So the interesting thing that we learn over the period of this episode is that Enzo, who is now with Damon, has not turned off his humanity yet. So the first thought that came to my mind was, why is Enzo still there? I mean, if his humanity isn't off, why is he with Damon and not with Bonnie? Does this monster have some sort of mind control over him that he doesn't actually need to turn off his humanity to follow it? I was really confused, but as we learn later on in the episode, Enzo is actually leaving clues for Bonnie so that she can find out what this monster is. I'm going to get to that in just a second. The next thing I want to talk about is that moment when Caroline's twins were hiding in the closet, and that woman from the armory, I'm not really sure what her name is anymore, she came into the house and she was looking for them and she was going to kill them. I was like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, she cannot under any circumstances kill those twins. While I do think that Caroline's thing with Alaric in the previous season was a bit strange, I have grown to love these twins. Even though Caroline was just the surrogate of the children, she is their mother. She loves them. She has become their stronghold. She's the one who raised them along with Alaric. You don't need to be married to the biological father in order to be a mother. She is just there for them. She has been there for them from the beginning. She loves them with all her heart. I actually think that she cares about these kids more than she cares about anyone else at this point. Luckily, she saves them. That was just a moment for me when I was like, I had this like, my heart just stopped. I was like, I would not put this beyond Julie Plec to write these kids out of the show. Because as we all know, horrible things happen to our favorite characters, and I thought they were going to die, but they didn't. Whew. Now, Caroline and Stefan seem to be in somewhat of a relationship. I'm not exactly sure how committed they are to each other at this point, but you can definitely see that they have an intimate relationship and that Caroline very much cares for Stefan. I don't really know how to feel about Stefan and Caroline yet. I think I'm sort of starting to warm up to the idea of them being together, but sometimes I feel like Stefan doesn't really treat her the way that she is supposed to be treated. Maybe this is just me, but I don't really feel like her sort of love story has been closed yet. I think that there is still a lot of things that she needs to work out, especially in regards to Lark. Oh, especially in regards to Klaus. While I think that Caroline and Stefan are quite sweet together, I still ship her with Klaus more than anyone. Now, as a side note, I do not watch the originals. I have watched the first half of the first season. I didn't like it so much. I will be finishing it off sometime, hopefully. But, you know, Caroline and Stefan do seem to love each other very much, and if that is exactly what Caroline needs, and if he's what Caroline wants, then I'm going to be happy for her. So now back to Enzo leaving clues for Bonnie. So over the period of the episode, Bonnie and Stefan find multiple clues that sort of lead them to Enzo and Damon's hiding place. A couple of victims have been killed, and Bonnie's having these flashbacks to when Enzo was reading Bonnie the Odyssey. And at the very, very end of the episode, she makes the connection of what the monster actually is. Now, I don't know about you guys, but it just absolutely blew my mind when the monster came up, and it wasn't like some sort of really freaky, gross looking thing, but it was a beautiful, beautiful woman. I was like, what? What's going on? So it turns out that the enemy, the monster, is actually a siren. Oh my goodness. So sirens are basically supposed to be these mermaid-human hybrid things that live in the water, and they lure sailors and people into the water with their singing voices, and they basically hypnotize the people and then kill them or drown them. Now, if I remember correctly, the only two times that I have ever really seen sirens represented in a sort of popular way in media has firstly been in The Siren by Kira Cass. I really loved that book, and I thought it was absolutely intriguing that she was writing about sirens. And secondly, in the fourth Pirates of the Caribbean movie, On Stranger Tides, you have the mermaids. I'm not exactly sure whether mermaids and sirens in this situation were the same, but they do the same things that the sirens do. They lure the sailors into the water and kill them, so I'm just going to go off on the fact that they are actually sirens. Now, I think the idea of a siren as an enemy is just absolutely amazing. I think that it is a great idea. I don't know how other people feel about it, but I think that it is absolutely cool. I think that we should see more of this mythological creature in the entertainment business. You don't really hear a lot about them. They seem to be more of an enigma when it comes to, you know, literature and movies and TV shows and stuff. I think that it is just absolutely intriguing. I am very fascinated by that. Also, on a side note, was that siren missing a leg? Now, another question that I was asking myself was, when Damon was in the armory in that cave-like place, he heard Elena's voice. But if I'm not mistaken, the siren, she looked very similar to Nina. Now, it might have just been the dark hair and the sort of, you know, badass expression on her face, but it wouldn't surprise me if this siren would take on the form of the person who the person loves most. For Damon, that would be Elena. For Enzo, that would be Bonnie, and so forth. She definitely can take on the voice of the person that Damon loved most, since he heard Elena's voice in that cave, but other than that, we don't really know much about the sirens. Is the only thing they do drag people into the waters? Do they have some sort of magic powers? I don't know. I'm just really excited to see what's gonna happen. I think that this enemy is something that we've just never seen before. I mean, we've seen witches, we've seen vampires, we've seen werewolves. We haven't seen any sort of mer creature thing from the oceans. I think that this is just an absolute great way to end the show. Obviously, I could be mistaken about the siren being an interesting person, enemy thingy, but I guess we'll see. So I'm gonna be talking about the things that I hope to get out of this season. First of all, I really want to see Elena coming back. Whether that is just for the very, very last episode or whether she might actually return halfway through the season or something, I think that Nina, and especially in regards to Elena and Damon, they deserve a happy ending. I completely understand Nina's decision to leave the show, and I respect her, and I respect the writer's decision to just write Elena into a coma. I completely understand that. I just don't want to see the show ending without Elena's story being wrapped up. Elena was where it all started, and Elena is where it should all finish. In general, I just want to see everyone getting a happy ending. I want to see Caroline coming to terms with whoever she's gonna end up with. I want to see Alaric, the kids, and Caroline with the kids find some sort of happy ending. If they die, I'm gonna be very upset. I want to see Bonnie's magic come back. Obviously, Bonnie is badass without her magic. Bonnie can do a lot of things. She's very smart, she's creative, but I feel like magic is just such an essential part of who she is. It's like in her DNA. I feel like she is most herself when she's doing her magic, and I would just love to see her magic come back. And last but not least, I really want to know more about the siren creature. I just want to know what she can do. I want to know what her motives are and what exactly she's planning on doing with Damon and Enzo. I guess we'll see end of this week. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Tell me your opinions on the episode down below. I'll see you next time for another video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!